Good evening, colleagues. So far, we don't have interpretation.
I will speak in two languages.
I will speak two languages.
Before we start, a few technical issues to help you turn on the translation. Отже, до того, як ми почнемо, скажу кілька слів для того, щоб всі ми могли увімкнути переклад. Щоб всі ми могли увімкнути переклад. Хочу продемонструвати для того, щоб це було максимально видно для всіх. Так, дякую за ваше терпіння. Окей. Ми сьогодні працюватимемо з перекладом, з синхронним перекладом. Для того, щоб його увімкнути, подивіться, будь ласка, вниз задач, панелі задач Zoom, знайдіть символ глобусу, увімкніть українською. Today we're working with the simultaneous translation. To turn it on, please look at the bottom of the taskbar, find the globe sign, and pick English. During the event, we ask everyone who is not playing mediator or a party at this time to turn on the video and the microphone. Why we are doing it? Під час події, я вже сподіваюся, ви чуєте переклад, тому не буду говорити англійською, далі я говоритиму українською. Під час події, будь ласка, тримайте вимкненими камери та мікрофони, якщо в даний момент ви не граєте роль медіатора чи сторони. Навіщо ми це робимо? Якщо ви зверху, в верхньому правому куточку натиснете Gallery View, та натиснете Hide Non-Video Participants, приховати учасників без відео, ви будете бачити на великому екрані 4 обличчя, які є обличчями учасників та медіаторів. Це дозволить вам краще бачити емоції, як наче ви проводите онлайн-медіацію. Ми просимо і дуже заохочуємо вас ставити запитання в чаті. І для того, щоб ми знали, від кого ці запитання, просимо вас перейменувати себе, якщо ви названі не своїм ім'ям. Будь ласка, назвіть себе, щоб ми могли до вас звертатися, адресувати ваші коментарі. Якщо раптом у вас є проблеми з технікою і з якоїсь причини ви не чуєте перекладу, будь ласка, сконтактуйте людину.
Please contact the person whose contact information was in the list. In Ukraine, it's Natalia Mudrak. If you don't hear interpretation from English, please call the number which is in the email, and please find her among the participants, Natalia Mudrak for Ukrainian, and ask her to help you, ask you to assist you, and the same for our English-speaking participants. If you are not able to turn on the translation, you don't hear the translation into English, please find Lori among the participants or Richard among the participants. I asked Lori and Richard to rename yourself and add technical support to your name, that our participants can find you and ask for help with the simultaneous translation. I'm very grateful to you. I hope that everyone can hear interpretation now and everyone understands what we're talking about, so we can start. My name is Svetlana Stadnik. I'm the head of Association of Family Mediators of Ukraine, and today we will moderate our event. There will be a minimum of words from myself and other organizers in order to concentrate on simulation and see and hear why we are here all together today. 2 words about the event. When last time in January we organized a similar event for 2 countries, Ukraine and the States. We got a great feedback from our mediators, and it's that to be a mediator means to study forever when we are practicing, and it's a big fun for us that the mediators, a big happiness for us that all the mediators of Ukraine and the United States at that moment wanted to share their practice, to study to teach each other to develop their understanding of mediation. And when at the end of the last event, one of our participants, of our colleagues and our good friend from Great Britain initiated that Great Britain joins today's session, today's simulation, we were very happy. So today's event is an event for 3 countries, Ukraine, Great Britain, and the States, organized by 4 associations. And now I want to introduce, I give the floor to the representative of the American Association, the Mediators of Colorado. Mike Medey, the floor is yours. You are the mediators today from the American side. Please introduce yourself.
Well, thank you. My name is Mike Medey. I'm on the board of directors of the Mediation Association of Colorado. And the MAC is a statewide organization in Colorado of mediators across the state of Colorado that practice professionally in various areas, including many of our members, the majority probably, are family mediators. So I've had the pleasure of collaborating with Svetlana and others from Ukraine over the last year, and then Judith more recently on putting together this event. And I think that collaboration for me has been one of the highlights of the pandemic, because while the pandemic has not been fun for us or anyone, I'm sure, it's really expanded, I think, what we can do as mediators. And my practice has become a virtual practice, essentially. All the mediations I've done for the last 12 months have been virtual, and I'm sure others of you are experiencing similar things. So it's been an interesting time, and getting to know people in other parts of the world as easily as getting to know people in other parts of my town has been an interesting part of this interesting time. Also, I wanted to just thanks Svetlana, especially for the work she's done for this event in terms of heading it up and putting it together and coordinating everything and making it work. So a round of applause, please, for her for everything she's done. Are we ready to move into our simulation, or we move to Judith first? Okay. So I guess I'll hand the floor to Judith.
Так, дякую, Майкле, дуже дякую. І так,
thanks a lot, Michael. So Judith, now I'll tell several words about Mike and Judith. We were working about trans-border mediation. We started it 1.5 or 2 years ago. Judith is a very experienced family mediator, accredited by the Family Mediation Council, and she is a coach of family mediation, and she is more than 23 years she's practicing family mediation. Judith, please, the floor is yours. Please introduce.
Hello, hi, I'm Judith, and actually, Svetlana, you've just sort of stolen my intro. No, there's lots of things to say about this project, which I think Mike and Svetlana have already said. It's been absolutely great working on it, and talking also about the wider issues around mediation. So it's already raised lots of questions, which I think are interesting for everybody. We've been working together really to try and give you a flavor of how mediators work in our different parts of the world. So sharing practice like this is not easy. It's not straightforward, as Svetlana knows. It's been a lot of work, but it's a great way of generating questions and very important issues like how the clients might feel about their mediation and how much children are involved. Now, my mediation practice has tended to be centered around children and all the financial issues that result from separation and divorce. So this was why I went to the child abduction course, where I met Svetlana, Mike, and many other mediators. There were only 3 of us, I think, who were English speaking. It was a really great international effort. So that was inspiring. I'm just going to hand over now to Jane Roby, who is the CEO of National Family Mediation, and I'm a member of National Family Mediation and was trained by National Family Mediation.
Jane, please turn on your microphone.
Jane, please turn on your mic. We can't hear you.
I didn't realize it was muted, sorry. So as Judith says, I'm Jane Roby, I'm Chief Exec of National Family Mediation, and we come quite late to this party, I'm sorry to say, but I just want to tell you a bit about National Family Mediation. We were established in 1982 and were the original providers of family mediation here in the UK. Now, the different devolved jurisdictions that operate in the 4 countries of the United Kingdom mean that we currently operate in England and Wales only. So our network of mediators has grown considerably in the years since our formation, and until the pandemic began, our network delivered in-person mediation in some 500 locations. COVID restrictions mean that at present our mediation is delivered by video conference only, and a move that we made very quickly in spring 2020, as Mike talked about earlier. So NFM is the largest provider of family mediation in England and Wales, and also a not-for-profit provider. And we also offer legally aided mediation, which means people on low incomes are able to get our services free at the point of use. So NFM was set up because of the growing need to find an alternative route through divorce rather than the protracted and conflicted litigation route offered by the court and the legal system. And as Judith said, its central focus was on improving outcomes for children who suffered and continue to suffer when conflict persists. Mediation in the UK is now widely recognised as a service that can help people resolve all aspects of their separation and produces much better longer-term outcomes for families and especially children. NFM is also one of the founding members of the Family Mediation Council, which is the body which regulates standards of practice in family mediation for England and Wales. So a year ago, most mediators in the UK would have said that working online using video conferencing was not possible. And through necessity, practice has swiftly changed. And this also includes training, professional development and conferences. So I'm delighted that we've been able to join this international event that transcends the physical boundaries that we're all experiencing and that provides us with an opportunity to share firsthand our practice from around the world. And I hope we all have a really good event. Technology, please don't fail us now.
Jane, дякую, дуже дякую. Зараз
Thanks a lot, Jane. Now, Diana, please, the floor is yours. Diana is the president of the National Association of Mediators in Ukraine. Please introduce yourself. Hello to everyone, colleagues from Ukraine, colleagues from the Great Britain, from the States. I'm really happy that we have the second similar event. And it's a very bright example of the fact that maybe differently from other professions, which we can talk about, like a shoemaker without shoes. Regarding ourselves, we have made a huge step ahead, and we are implementing techniques and approaches which we also use for our parties in mediation. I mean that for ourselves, we realized our need to exchange experiences, to compare these experiences, to get in touch through the borders, through the oceans, and to enrich our experiences. We have accepted this fact, and we decided to construct this solution. And pandemic, to some extent, made us understand the borders and distances as barriers, which is quite difficult to pass without certain resources. And in fact, this project, which today has a great continuation, It was born due to enthusiasm and by means of and resources of the people who are involved into it. And it's even better because we made a miracle then out of nothing by our own means, own intellectual and physical resources, emotional resources. We were able to create something really significant. Significant for several communities, professional communities of mediators. And that's why it's very positive. And introducing National Association of Mediators of Ukraine, I would like to say that we are happy to be a part of this process and to make our own investment to this process, to development. And for the colleagues in the UK and in the States, just briefly, I want to say that our association unites mediators not only of family practice, we also have mediators who work in different kinds of litigations, business and school mediation, and also in courts. And we are quite rich and happy. And the information about this event was shared not only with the family mediators of Ukraine, but it's important that even those mediators who don't work with the family mediation, they can see, they can get inspired by the practice demonstrated by the colleagues, family mediators. It's a great opportunity to observe and to realize cross-cultural peculiarities of different mediations when family mediations is not your profession. That's why I wish all of us in every event to appreciate all the seeds, all the values which can be obvious to someone, not obvious to someone, and also by making efforts to assist each other in creating other valuable events. And I wish us to enjoy. Mediators have a good time. Parties also enjoy, and we will enjoy it too. Thanks a lot, Diana. As the head of Association of Family Mediators of Ukraine, I would like to say that this event for us is also very valuable because for me personally, I think that it widens our horizons and our understanding of what mediation is. It gives us a feeling, also gives us an opportunity to compare our practice to the practice in other countries, to realize sometimes that we do the same, or we use the same instruments. Sometimes we recognize differences and we learn. And for me, it's important that for development of our community, a community of the family mediators of Ukraine, they are mediators who develop themselves a lot, they study a lot. That's why I hope that today's event will give us new thoughts, new ideas, and probably will inspire each of us, each of the participants who is present today, for some new projects, new cooperation with each other. When we start our informal part, it depends on you, what kind of ideas you will share with us, and we don't know where it will lead us to today's event. In 1 minute, I will give the floor to our mediators, and during this minute, I would like to talk a little bit about the event. So right now, 30 minutes, we'll have a simulation of American case led by Mike Medey, and then we will have 5 minutes for Q&A. And right after that, we'll have 30 minutes of mediation of our British colleagues. It will be almost the same case. Probably you have noticed that the cases are more or less the same everywhere where they can be. It's the same family, same kids, the same age, but the differences which we cannot have the same in the countries will be represented by the different countries. After the British case, we'll have 5 minutes for Q&A, then 10 minutes break, and then again 30 minutes of Ukrainian mediators simulation, and then we'll have Q&A and 30 minutes for exchange of questions and experiences. After that, we'll wrap up, and those who want, they can stay for an informal after meeting. So now I invite everyone, besides American, except for American parties, to put off their cameras and microphones, to switch on gallery view, to put off non-video participants in order to see the simulation on the big screen as a big picture. So Michael, the floor is yours. I know that you will ask me to share the screen. I'm getting ready for that. I'm putting my camera off, not to distract from your simulation.
Okay, thank you, Svetlana. As we get into the role play, I want to introduce two of my colleagues, Kent Gray and Carolina Steen, who will be our couple today, divorcing couple. If those of you that attended the previous session we did focusing on parenting issues, Kent and Carolina were the parties in that one as well. So glad you guys are here, and thanks for participating. If you can, rename yourselves to Anna and Alex on the Zoom meeting just to get into role, and if you can't, that's okay too. But we can begin. Svetlana, do you want to share the screen with the overview of the case, please? I think I'm getting it. Okay, great. So I just want to say a couple of things about this case before we get into the simulation. And first of all, preparing for this has been interesting because I think there may be more differences between our different countries and cultures as it relates to mediating financial issues as opposed to parenting issues. Our last session that we did jointly with the Ukraine Mediation Associations focused on parenting plans, parenting schedules, those sorts of issues. And those sorts of things I think are common, we have more in common in different parts of the world to address those issues. When we get into financial things, I think there's some real differences. So that may make it more evident that there are differences between our various systems and cultures as it relates to financial issues. So I want to go over this financial scenario briefly with you and just highlight a few items. So in terms of mediating financial issues, my feeling is financial issues are basically a three-cornered hat in the US as we approach them. One corner of that hat is the balance of assets and debts that the family has that need to be mediated. Also the income of the husband and the wife, and then so it's assets and debts, ongoing income agreements between the parties. So that includes spousal maintenance and alimony. So the spousal maintenance and alimony and child support. So the asset and debt division, child support and spousal maintenance are kind of the three parts of the puzzle that we work with as we're formulating financial agreements. In this scenario, we've fleshed out some details, and really what you're looking at here is a tentative agreement on many of the issues involved. So if we were to do a simulation involving an actual mediation of a complete financial settlement, I think this would be a very, very, very long seminar. So we've kind of boiled it down a little bit. So I'll go over this description briefly. Anne and Alex are a couple getting divorced. They own a house. The equity value in that house is approximately $120,000 US dollars. They have 2 cars. Alex drives his and Anne drives hers, and they will each be keeping their own car and be responsible for the expenses of that through this scenario. The next area is credit card debt. And as we're planning this session, this is something that I think is very different in different parts of the world. I think Americans have access that's easy to credit for their personal credit needs. That is just a fact of life here in the US. It can also be, I think, very difficult for a lot of families to negotiate, because people can run up an extraordinary amount of debt very easily in the consumer area. So this couple has, I think, a pretty typical breakdown of cases we might see in mediation in terms of their debt, their consumer debt, and also has a student loan, which is $47,000, a significant amount, obviously, and that is not unusual either in the U.S. in terms of the expenses people have to incur and the debt they take on to complete a college education. So she's a teacher, and to get her teaching degree, she's still paying on a significant student loan amount. Income: Alex is an electrician. He makes about $6,947 per month, and through his employment. Anna makes less, but has a good income, $4,000 per month. The children, Kate and Max, have some ongoing expenses. One is Kate is a budding figure skating star, and she has significant monthly expenses for lessons, ice time, that sort of thing. Max is learning the piano. He's 8 years old, so he's beginning in that, but again, a significant expense for the family. Another expense that might be unique to the U.S. is the children's health insurance costs. So in this case, that's $335 per month. That's the health insurance costs for the children, not including health insurance for either parent. In the U.S., health insurance is expensive, and this is not an unusual amount at all for insuring your children healthcare wise. There's some work-related daycare costs for the children. That's $300 a month, and pays that cost. And then in Alex's case, he's renting an apartment currently and has a monthly rental expense. The plan is also that the house will be transferring to sole title with Anne, so that she will continue to live there and refinance the house in her sole name. In consideration of that, there's equity value exchange that you'll see as we talk. Now, in the bottom category, there's two calculations, and these are obviously very precise: child support and spousal maintenance. So our system in Colorado, which is not exactly the same in every state in the United States, but it's similar throughout most of our country, is there's calculations for child support, there's calculations for spousal maintenance or alimony, and spousal maintenance / alimony is support for one spouse by one spouse for the other spouse that makes less income. Child support, of course, is monetary support for raising the children. So that's just kind of an overview of our scenario. The other thing, another factor to look at in all this is when we commence mediation, when we begin mediation. One of the initial factors that the parties need to do is produce detailed financial statements that are standardized for our courts and get into each of these asset, debt, income, and expense areas in detail. And they have to be sworn statements verified by backup data, so that when you declare on the statement what your income is, you have to provide documentation that is your income, either tax returns or paycheck stubs or something to document the income in each case. The same with debts and asset values and that sort of thing. So with all that, I think we're ready to begin mediating. And let me just spell out, I don't know if you want, yeah. Okay, so now on your screen, I believe, and let me focus my screen. You should be seeing myself and Alex now, and Anna. So I just wanted to begin today, Alex and Anna, with just a summary. We did meet previously and worked out an agreement related to parenting issues for the children. And you did a great job of working on that and coming to an agreement that I think is probably in the best interest of your kids. And you both seem satisfied with it at the conclusion of mediation. So today we're shifting over to financial issues. And as I've said to you before, we need to look at issues related to asset division, debt division, your income issues related to expenses for the kids, and then also child support and spousal maintenance. So just wondering if either of you have some opening thoughts here today as we get started.
No, it's just something that I think we need to get done.
Okay. And Anna, you're eager to get going as well?
Yes, I am. I've crunched some numbers and have some ideas about how to work this out. So,
Okay. And I did provide you with initial calculation of child support and spousal maintenance based on the sworn financial statements you submitted earlier. So what I guess either, I don't care who wants to go first, but if you could kind of give me your broad overview of what you'd like to see in terms of a final settlement here, we can go from there.
Well, of course, you know, we need to take care of the debts, and we kind of decided on how we would split up the credit cards and things like that. The children obviously have to be taken care of, so I don't have any problem paying child support. I do have some issue with paying spousal support because I think that Anne can take care of herself based on the income that she has, plus the child support she's going to get. And so I don't think that she needs extra money from me to take care of that.
well, and I disagree with that statement.
Okay, and Anna, thanks. But so Alex, you're saying that the tentative agreement we discussed prior is you're pretty good with it. The spousal maintenance, the ongoing monthly alimony is something you want to look at, or at least you have some concerns about. And Anna, I'm sorry, I kind of cut you off. Do you want to give me your overview of what this settlement might look like, or?
Well, Alex, he makes $2,900 more than I do, so I don't see how supporting me for a measly $280 some should be an issue. I think that maintenance should be a part of this.
Okay, and obviously your marriage is 10 years in length. The spousal maintenance calculation not only specifies a monthly number, monthly level of spousal maintenance, but also a length of maintenance, which in your case would work out to be 4 years and 7 months of maintenance at the $284 level calculated. So that's, again, thanks for providing information on that issue. I want to just kind of go through the scenario a little bit more and clear up another couple of areas where I have some questions. Now, the marital home, it looks like your agreement was that the equity value is about $120,000. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And which spouse, if either of you or both of you want to continue to reside in that home? What are your thoughts on who will live there, or will you sell it?
Yeah, well, we agreed that I would maintain the house, and we'd look at maybe doing something with the equity of it, since
Okay.
Alex has moved out with his friend.
Okay, and Alex, are you okay with Anna continuing to reside in the home?
Yes, I mean, the children, that's where they grew up. And so it's nice to have one parent at least have that, so they have that feeling of comfort.
Okay. And my understanding also is that currently the home is jointly titled in both your names, and also is financed in a loan in both your names. Is that correct?
Yes.
So any solution here has to include a transfer of title to Anna, and with that, she has to acquire financing in her sole name. Is that correct also?
Yes.
Yes, that's what we expected.
Okay. And I guess, Anne, I'm asking you, do you feel like you're able to qualify for a loan for the remaining amount owed on the house?
So if we were to split the 120, so that if he would get 60 and I would get 60, I think I could do that. And just based on my history of my teaching employment, whatnot. So I've already called the bank and feel pretty confident about that.
So based on a division of equity, an equal division of equity, which we're projecting to be about $120,000, divide that in two is 60,000. You feel like you could borrow the remainder needed to refi the home with that arrangement. Okay.
Yep.
Okay, so it sounds like it's realistic as an option to move forward with that. So I think, can we just say that that is your agreement in terms of the disposition of the house? And do we want to set a date for that transfer of title and refinance?
Yes, I was just wondering if they told you any date that you thought you could close by.
Yeah, they initially said 30 days, which is a standard, but it could take up to 60 days.
And,
So
and I don't have a problem taking that long as she's making the mortgage payments in the meantime.
Okay. Are you okay with that, Anna?
Yeah, as long as it doesn't go more than 60 days, I think that would be fine.
And if it were to go longer than 60?
It's just really stretching me because it's the entire payment, but
Okay.
I feel confident that the bank, since we've had this loan with them for some time, that they understand the circumstances, that they will work to achieve it within the 30 to 60 day period. So I'm feeling pretty confident about that.
Okay, good. So we'll assume that maybe we can put a clause in the agreement related to if additional time is needed for financing. So let's just move on. Debts, there's a division of credit card debt here with Alex getting the Chase card and the Home Depot card and getting the MasterCard and being also responsible for the Victoria's Secret account and the student loan that's in her name for her education. Is that acceptable to both of you at this point?
It's acceptable to me. I think it just needs to be pointed out. It looks like she's taking on a lot of debt, but that loan she had before we got married, the student loan.
The student loan.
So that's treated different, obviously. I've been told under Colorado law.
Right. And you're okay with that debt division as well, Anna?
I am, as long as my retirement stays intact, because I earned that as well prior to the marriage. So yes, I can live with that.
Okay, and so let's talk about that, and that's an asset that's not on here, but is a significant financial asset. And you're a teacher, which means you have a public employees retirement plan that has been, I'm assuming you've paid into that throughout your marriage. So over the 10 years of your marriage, you've been employed and paying into that para account, right?
Yes, and a little bit before then, but yes.
Okay. So that's a significant financial asset. I think in addition to the house and the cars and some of the physical property, that's probably the most significant financial asset you have. And Alex, I'm wondering from your perspective, how you want that to be addressed. Would that be Anna's sole property moving forward or not? Or
well, again, I think it comes back to whether or not I'm going to have to pay alimony. I think obviously that would be a significant interest I would have in that, whatever her final amount of her Public Employee Retirement Association account would be. So I think that in letting her keep that, that would kind of balance out, again, the need for me to pay alimony.
okay, so we'll circle
I
back.
am willing to waive it if we can get that accomplished.
Okay, so let's circle back to that.
Давайте повернемося.
Account. Also, income, we have Alex, yours listed at 6947. Is that still accurate?
Yes, it is.
And Anna, $4,000 per month. That's still accurate?
Yes.
And both of you feel like those are accurate representations of your current incomes. Is that correct?
Right. That's close to what it was when we were together. So I assume it's stayed roughly the same.
Then we have expenses for the kids, Kate's figure skating, Max piano, health insurance costs, work-related childcare costs. Those looks like the division of the figure skating piano is 50-50 between the two of you. So extracurricular expenses, it sounds like, will be equally divided. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes, I think we both agreed on that.
Okay. And then health insurance, Alex, is through your employer, I
That's
assume, and you're paying that cost for the children moving forward. And on your side, you're paying the work-related childcare expenses, which those are actually fairly equal in terms of balancing out. Is that okay to continue that way?
It is, and I've just, I've been thinking that if Alex is willing to not touch my para account, then I would reconsider the maintenance issue.
Okay, well, let's jump down to that briefly here. So, and certainly let's talk about that as an option. But we have a calculation of child support at $262.75 and spousal maintenance $284.10, right? Just to clarify for the two of you, I think you understand this, but the spousal maintenance is a maintenance, income maintenance or financial assistance, if you will, from one spouse to the other moving forward. And there's many factors that go into that. Your incomes are one factor. There's other things that are considered in terms of division of debt, assets, that sort of thing. So it's a kind of complex calculation. What we have here is just a tentative calculation based really solely on your different incomes. Child support, of course, is support for the children's needs. In this case, that would be father paying mother $262 per month ongoing, and that's another different that's a different type of financial support. So maintenance, spousal maintenance is spouse to spouse. Child support is in consideration of the children's needs. These calculations are tentative ones, and we can vary from them. And what you're talking about doing is varying from the spousal maintenance calculation, right? So instead of $284 per month, Alex, your concern was that would be an ongoing expense that would be tough for you to do, and you wanted to see that waived. Anna, it sounds like you're willing to look at that waiver. So is that, am I accurate here?
Yes.
I think you are. And my understanding is that the spousal support isn't mandatory. It's up to the court, whereas the child support obviously is mandatory. Is that right?
Not exactly. I mean, the judge, you can waive from the calculation on spousal maintenance, but generally there needs to be a reason to do that. Correct. So, you'd still inform the court that the calculation on the maintenance worksheet is this $284 per month, but you're agreeing to vary from that, and you can vary all the way down to zero and waiving it with proper considerations. What's being talked about here is doing that with the understanding that Anna gets 100% of her public employees' retirement benefits. Does that explain things, or does that confuse things?
Well, a little bit. I think when I was talking about getting rid of the spousal maintenance, I know that she's going to have to pay for the new refinancing of the house on her own. Hopefully, if she gets a good loan and can spread that out, that'll actually make it cheaper than what I'm going to have to pay for rent. As it in Colorado, that seems to be the way things are. And so I'm just wondering if if we took that $284 and the judge said, yes, that's what I'm going to do, and we took it out for 4 years and 7 months as the calculation on the formula would show, that'd be a little about $15,600. And so I think I would be willing to reduce my share of the equity in the house also by a little bit, in addition to leaving alone her retirement. I do have that small little bit of veterans benefits that balances out probably a portion of what I would have got under her retirement anyway.
Okay, I see what you're saying. So Anna, are you okay with what Alex is proposing, which is essentially you would get the PERA benefits, sole entitlement to that. And Alex, you said reducing your share of the $60,000 projected equity in the house by 15,000, 16,000 or thereabouts.
Yeah, or even a little bit more, rounded off 20,000, something like that. Because that might make her payments then a little less because she wouldn't have to refinance as much.
That would
Which
really
would kind of
help.
balance that off then.
Okay, so you're fine with that, Anna, right?
That would really help me, yes.
Okay, well, okay, so it looks to me like I think we have an agreement here on everything. And you know, the provisions of that would include, and I will draft a memorandum of understanding outlining all of this that you can review and sign and attach to any documents you need to file with the court to process the divorce. Once you see that draft memorandum of understanding, if there's any questions you have or any changes you want to think, having thought about it, want to consider making, just please contact me and we can convene another session to address those changes. But basically, I think what we're talking about, I'll go over this real quickly. Again, you get a draft, an email draft will come out to you shortly as well. But Anna will obtain sole title to the house and refinance the house in her name. Each of you will keep the cars that you're currently driving. The equity payout for Alex's share of the value in the family home will be $40,000, which is a $20,000 reduction there. You'll continue to share equally the costs of the figure skating, piano lessons, other extracurricular activities for the kids. Children's health insurance will be paid by Alex. Work-related childcare costs will be paid by Anna. The spousal maintenance calculation is $284.10, but you agree to waive spousal maintenance, which means that Anna, you would have no right to claim spousal maintenance in the future if you agree to waive it. And do you understand that?
I do. I just want closure to all of this, so I'm willing to do that.
And then child support is calculated at $262 per month. We would need to do a recalculation of that based on the fact that there's no spousal maintenance being paid, which will change it a little bit. So I'll include that recalculation. It'll raise the child support a bit, but that would be part of the ongoing agreement as well. Is that? Are you both good with that?
Well, I was hoping the child support would stay the same because she is actually still kind of getting the spousal support because the not having to pay me out as much for the house.
Okay.
So I was wondering if we could agree to just round it off to $263 a month.
Okay, and that can work with as far as the court's concerned. We'll just have to note in the agreement that that's what's being done. Are you okay with the 263 level on the maintenance, Anna? Or excuse me, the child support?
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Okay, so we will include that in the memorandum as well. Okay, well, thank you very much. And as I said, the memorandum of understanding will be out to you shortly. If it all looks good, just sign it and email it back to me and to the other party, and then you'll need to process. You don't have an attorney, either of you, so you'll need to process this case through our courts. You can get help with that through the Self-Help Center at our courthouse. So thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Svetlana, we are done. I think you're muted, Svetlana.
No, I am not. Я вам дуже дякую і вітаю вас.
Thank you so much. And Congratulations. Congratulations on the great work you've done. Thanks for this demonstration. We didn't have any questions in the chat room. So dear colleagues, if you have questions now, you ask them now. If we have little time for questions now, they will be moved for our discussion time later, but there must be some questions, and I'll voice, there is question, they have to sign memorandum. Is this memorandum legally binding? This is a question from Galina Yeremenko. So that's the question. If they sign the memorandum now, will it be legally binding?
Well, first of all, I'm going to open up questions to Alex, well, not Alex and Anna, Kent and Carolina to answer. So if you guys want to chip in on the answers, feel free to do that. The basic question, is that signed memorandum of understanding legally binding? Short answer is yes, it's a signed legal contract. However, it's reviewed subject to review by the court. So if the parties, and Kent, maybe especially you could clarify this, if the parties change their mind after they sign it, whether it's filed with the court or not, what happens?
Well, in practice, it's supposed to be binding. And once we sign it, one party or the other will give that to the court as saying, this is our written agreement. Under our statute for mediation, it says that's supposed to be binding. But we know that oftentimes judges don't treat it that way and do allow people to change their mind. We hope that once we're mediating and we get a signed agreement, that the judges will honor that and the parties will honor that, which is why we generally try to get those agreements to the court as soon as possible, so there's less time for people to change their minds.
Yes, and so it's binding, but it as Kent said, in practice, sometimes if somebody really has a problem with the agreement that they signed off on earlier, the judge can amend that. In certain cases, if the parties would enter into an unconscionable agreement that's really contrary to the possibilities allowed under Colorado law, the judge may overrule the agreement reached in mediation. I think as mediators, family mediators, it's really important for us to understand what's possible for the court and keep the parties on the rails as we move forward with agreements, and not, if we see something that they might agree to, but we feel is something that the court would not allow, we steer them back onto the tracks and help them get an agreement that will work. So the other thing I've noticed with virtual mediations is, when you do a mediation in person, generally you're drafting the memorandum as you go, and the parties sign it before they leave the room. As Kent said, lots of times they'll go upstairs in our courthouse and file it immediately with the court. In certain cases, we actually get people into court before a judge to confirm a mediated agreement. So everything's done just right away. With COVID and exchanging of signatures, it can be problematic, I think. So a lot of mediators use Adobe Sign or other tools like that to get signatures on memorandums right away. And some of us are better at technology than others. So that's one of the factors that goes into that. Other questions?
Так, є декілька інших запитань. Я не знаю, як багато ми з них встигнемо.
Yes, we have several other questions. I'm not sure how many we'll manage to discuss now. All of them are very interesting. There is a follow-up question from Katerina. Which are the grounds the court may reject the previously signed memorandum?
Well, I mentioned an unconscionable agreement, so something that is contrary to the law. I mean, that's one area. I mean, spouses, somebody can claim that they were.
Is this the only reason?
No. Spouses can claim that they were under duress when they signed the agreement that's reached in mediation. Sometimes between the signing of the agreement and an appearance in court, there'll be a change in circumstances. So, in this case, maybe one of the spouses might lose their job or they're laid off. So there's a significant that they are in a car accident, who knows, can't work. So there's significant changes like that. Can you think of other, Kent or
I-
Carolyn, other circumstances?
Колеги,
sorry.
дякую вам. Зараз уже спливає час.
Thank you so much. We are running out of time. We've got other questions. They will be just moved for our Q&A time, and I hope we'll have enough of time for you to answer them. I'm extremely grateful. I appreciate the work, Kent, Caroline, Mike, for your demonstration during this time. You demonstrated lots of peculiarities, and I hope you'll have other chances to show your simulations. So now you can turn off your cameras, you can take some rest, and thanks a lot.
And Svetlana, I'll just say, I saw a few more questions come up in the chat also, and I can take some time and try to answer those in the chat.
О, супер. І я запрошую.
Yes, it would be great. And now I give the floor to the mediators from UK. So I ask you to turn on your cameras, Judith, Joe, and also role players. Well,
Anna and Alex.
Yeah.
Judith seems to have gone, and we
I
have.
know. I think the host has stopped my video.
Будь ласка, так, Джудіт, включи, будь ласка, відео. Зараз в тебе буде.
Judith, please turn on your video. Now you'll have the slide.
I can't do it. Oh, yeah, I'm on. It's all right.
Я передаю вам слово.
I give you the floor. I give you the screen. So, well, good luck with your mediation, with your simulation.
Okay, we are. We're missing one of our.
No.
You know.
We're all here.
Oh, here you are. Sorry, Alex. My mistake. Welcome to the UK mediation. Just I wanted to mention a couple of things. One is that we are co-mediating this. Joe and myself are the co-mediators. Now, we don't often get a chance to co-mediate. It's a great treat when we do, because we can review what's happened between ourselves, because we've both been watching the other one working, and we've been watching what the clients are doing. So it really helps our mediation, we find. I think Joe probably agrees with me there. And we used to co-mediate. I was trained to co-mediate, but then expenses came in, and this doesn't happen very frequently anymore. We've really sort of arrived at the same place in this mediation as Mike and his clients started. There will be a few differences. Obviously, as we've said, there are many situations which wouldn't arise. There are situations that wouldn't arise in the UK that do arise in the US, and vice versa. And I hope you'll be able to ask questions about those afterwards. I'm not going to go into a huge amount of detail about the situation, because I think you've already got the idea. And thanks very much, Mike, for doing a good description of our clients and their situation at the beginning. I think, Joe, you had something a couple of things that you wanted to say about the differences.
Yes, we've decided to focus for this session on the child support and maintenance aspects of the mediation, partly because we recognise that this is probably a bit different in the different contexts. And just to give you a little bit of background, if you're not from the UK, in this country, the government provides a child maintenance service, which has the function of providing a calculator that anyone can access online to assist with working out what would be a basic and fair child support payment. It also provides for assessments, where people are unable to agree between themselves to have a family-based agreement. And it also enforces child support where necessary. So people are encouraged to reach agreements rather than have to use the service. And in this case, you might expect the clients to have had a look at the online calculator. The courts are not involved in child support unless the people are earning above quite a high level. So we have a system that is primarily outside of the divorce court service. People can agree what they want, but after 12 months they can go back to the child maintenance service as well. So that has kind of superior powers. Another interesting feature of this case, you will have read in the case summary, is that the parents have equal care. That's what they've agreed. So another, I don't know if this is unique to the UK, but where there is exactly equal care between parents, the child maintenance service will not get involved in an assessment. So it's really left then to parents to make those decisions themselves about who's going to pay for what, or in some cases apply to the court. So this is where we're going to pick up our mediation today, dealing with that kind of situation and what people might do in those circumstances. So,
okay. Yeah. So I'm going to start today. Say welcome, Alex and Anna. It's good to see you. It's good to see you again. If you remember, we set this session up to work on and hopefully agree on the child support payments. We have already written up your existing agreements in draft, and as you know, we can change those. They're not set in stone. If you want to go back over them, then that's fine. But I just want to check with you. So before we do any finalizing of documents, is it okay? Is that what you would like to discuss today? Have you got any other issues on your mind that you think need picking up, or is this what you understand? How does that sound from your point of view?
I would very much like to talk about child maintenance. That is very important to me. I think we need to discuss that urgently. So yes, please.
Okay, that's good. How about you, Alex?
I do want to discuss that, but I want to make sure that things are fair in the wider context as well. So yeah, definitely we need to discuss that. But I also want to make sure that I've got enough money to live on in the future, and just as probably Anna does as well.
Okay, well that is really what we're here to help you work out, so that you're both of you able to run your lives as you've planned to do following your divorce. And this is always a tricky point, isn't it, when you have to share your money and your income when it was pooled together, and the related accommodation costs, yeah, may come into that as well. So Jo, would you like to say anything at this point? Yeah.
Well, what I remember you both saying at the outset was that you both really wanted to keep things as normal as possible for the children. And that's kind of, I see that as being reflected in everything you've agreed so far about the equal care, about how you're dividing your home. And that you're also saying you kind of wanted the children to be able to carry on doing the things they're doing. So I guess this session is about maybe digging into that and really looking at, okay, so who is going to pay for what? How are you actually going to achieve this aspiration? Would that work for both of you to kind of focus in that way? And maybe we can dig into some of the actual expenses.
Yeah, it would. I've been doing a little bit of preparation before the session, and I just want to make sure there's enough money, really, because it might be that we can't afford to keep supporting with the children with everything that they want to do, but it might not be the case. But I'm not sure, maybe if we're spending a bit too much on the children.
Okay.
I'm a bit shocked at you saying that, because I mean, we have said, and Joe has just reminded us that we have said that we've always wanted the kids to continue with these things that we've been doing with them for a long time, that they worked hard to achieve things. I mean, particularly our daughter, you know, she's worked so hard for her skating success. And I think it would be terrible, terrible for them if we just now had to say to them, oh, sorry, kids, you know, you've put in all this work, but we can't afford to support you anymore. I mean, that I really think we need to find a way to continue doing that. I understand we both have to live, but, you know, these are our children and we wanted them to have a normal kind of continuing, a normal life. I think it's important.
So would it be helpful for both of you if we actually had a look at the figures? Now, Judith, I think, has been drafting up some of your income and your outgoing figures. So perhaps we just have a quick look at that, and then we can kind of look in a bit more detail at what some of those expenses are that, you know, Alex, you voiced a concern about, and that Anna, you feel very, very strongly you want to kind of keep going. So, okay, everybody can see that?
Yeah.
So, yes, this is really a summary, not in detail, but a summary of the expenses that you've shared with us. And obviously there are all the other issues which are separate about your assets and your liabilities. But just to sort of simply look at your income and expenditure, this is what we did. We drafted up after our last meeting. I don't know if there are any questions you've got about that.
I mean, I don't have questions, but I just want to point out, I mean, in these past 2 months when I've been trying to do things on my own, I have felt that I didn't have enough money. It somehow felt extremely tight, and having put these figures together, I now realize exactly why it felt like that, because I am extremely short of money. In fact, I'm overdrawn, and you can see the last line, I'm in a deficit of up to £347, and that's how it's felt like. And in the other table column, Alex, you don't seem to have that deficit. You have a nice, lovely surplus, and I think a bit of redistribution would really help here.
I mean, yeah, but I mean, I've got a couple of thoughts about that, Anna. The first of all is you don't really know my current situation, and I've still got other expenditure, you know, and to live and that. But I'm also noticing you're spending quite a lot on the children. So you're saying you haven't got enough money each month, and that's probably why I'm saying, well, maybe we need to look at where some savings are made.
Do we have a look at those children's expenses? Thanks, Judith. So
Okay. Sorry, can I just clarify then? But you know, Alex, you said you have other expenses that.
Well, you know what it's like. Cost of living, things go up, petrol. I mean, I'll give the children pocket money. There's all that kind of stuff that happens. I'm sure you do the same, but.
Well, I tried to put it in the table so that it's a realistic, a semi-realistic expenditure table. But
so one thing I noticed, which I'm sure you two did, was that when we were if you look at the children expenses, and on the basis that you provide equal care for them, there's a bit of a difference there, and I'm wondering what that's about. Anna, what can you identify what it is that there's about an extra £300, isn't there, that you're spending, which is actually the deficit that you're experiencing at the end of the month?
Yeah.
If you look at it in that. So I'm just wondering what those are, and because at the moment I'm guessing there's some things that are not, you're spending differently to each other.
Well, I mean, I don't know what Alex has put down in detail to arrive at the 350 that he's putting down. I can only speak for myself, but I know that in my book, I think I'm paying more on children expenditure simply because I'm still doing that sort of historically. We used to pay it out of a joint account, but I was in charge of doing all that, and now I'm doing it, and Alex is no longer paying into that account. And it's very expensive, but Kate's hobby especially. She needs a lot of equipment, and once every month, maybe every 6 weeks, there's a competition that we need to travel to. It's usually away, so it takes time, money, petrol. Sometimes we have to stay over. There's costumes to be, you know, prepared, and you know, massage therapy, and you know, there's a lot of stuff. And then
You have an idea, Anna, of how much the skating costs each
and
month?
I can tell you also the big ticket item is always the training camps, you know, that they do in the holidays. And if she was to miss those, you know, that would really set her back. And that's over the year, that's at least 2 camps a year. And it would take £1,000 easily for each of those. And that takes a lot of money, obviously.
I'm just wondering, Anna, where that money's going to come from. Obviously, I want Kate to still do the things she wants to do. I'm not saying she shouldn't, but there's only sort of limited money there, isn't there?
Well, I have factored all that in, so in the £650 per month, I've taken the annual average sum that I worked out and divided it by 12 into a monthly figure. So that is what I expect to pay. But it is, like Joe said, it's more than I can pay. I'm about £300 short. And, you know, I think we could both, you could contribute more.
Well, I do pay for Matt's.
Still be in the black, and we could continue, let the children continue with what they've been doing, and you'd still be in the black, and I could be in the black.
Yeah, don't forget, I still pay for Matt's piano lessons.
Yeah, that's all in there as well. I mean, that is also not cheap, but it's a lot less expensive than.
So is that in your expenses, Anna, or is it currently in Alex's?
I've put it in mine, Joe.
Right, and what about you, Anna? Have you put it in yours as well?
No, I haven't. Or have I? I don't know.
Maybe we've got some double accounting, but perhaps a way forward is to actually make a list of what there is, and if there are things you both agree you want the children to be able to do, given that you are doing equal care, would it be appropriate to be sharing those out more equally?
Well, I think that would be great. I think that I would like that very much, and I think that would make it far easier to afford these things.
I wonder at this point whether we could ask you both to say what you think might be fair, and then maybe working out how those expenses can be met between you. So it's more about how you share them out rather than who's paying them at the moment. Would that be, would you like to continue in that way? And also I'm aware, you know, Alex might have some, but perhaps you've got some ideas about what you want to happen.
Well, I think I mentioned the word fair near the beginning. I want Anna to still be able to live in the house and be able to live. I want our children to be cared for and brought up and that. I just want to make sure there's enough money for all of us to do what we need to do, really. So I'm conscious as well that Kate's, you know, 15 and she, you know, she's soon be 16 and in the future going on to university and things like that. So I think we need to think about things like that moving forward and maybe get a sense from Kate as well what she wants in all of this.
So perhaps what you're saying there, Alex, is that this isn't just about now, is it? It's for you and for both of you, there are going to be possible considerable expenses that you will both have to work together on in terms of, you know, whether it's figure skating or university or both, and Max coming along into high school, school trips, all those kind of things. You've already looked at the costs of those as they are now. So the first thing would maybe be to look at how you manage this actual situation, and then you'd be able to apply it to, you know, how you work together in the future. But, you know, setting that aside, what would you think was fair? Or sorry, yeah, if you want to speak.
I thought we will add all the expenses up and make sure that there's no double counting, come up with a total figure. And then initially I thought divided by half, but actually I'm thinking that's not actually fair because Alex's income and his outgoings shared with his new partner are actually much lower. So actually, maybe he should spend proportionally more on the total sum than I should.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking on the government website for this child maintenance calculator, and I don't think I need to pay anything there in terms of child support, because the children are living with both of us.
But it's not support as such. You're not paying it to me. You're paying it for activities. You're paying it for the children. It's not child support because they're living with me and they get more, you know, more food with me. And you know, it's how do we finance these activities?
I'm wondering what my legal rights are, Judith, Joe.
Well, the thing is, Alex, I think what you're referring to is the child maintenance service, which won't get involved if there isn't a primary resident parent. So if the children literally spend the same amount of time with each of you, you're back into the territory of, you know, the family-based agreement. Now, Judith and I, as you know, cannot give you legal advice. If you want to explore what other options either of you have got in terms of spousal maintenance, anything like that, then you would need to get some advice about that. But what we can say is that anything you're able to agree here, based pragmatically maybe on what you both want for your children.
Well, I'm guessing with hearing you say that is what do you really want then, Anna?
Well, I want for the children not to suffer just because we're not together anymore.
I think we both want that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and if that means that we are paying for them to continue the activities that they have been doing and that we have always encouraged them to do, then that's what I want. I mean, I totally appreciate that Kate is 15, and it may be that actually she doesn't want to spend all her spare time figure skating anymore. You know, she's doing very well and she's done it for some years, but it may be that she finds other things more interesting. Maybe we should talk about this to her and ask her what is important. But I just want it, if possible, I want a situation where if she says, yes, I still want to do that, I love it, that we allow her and make it possible that she can do that.
So I guess the question is, how do we make that possible?
Now,
can we work out how much there is altogether if we add up the different expenditures and then see what the actual figure is and how we can divide it?
Anna, and I think you mentioned two options a little way back. You were saying adding it all together and splitting it, or you also mentioned that you felt, from your perspective, fairness might involve a proportionate division on the basis of a difference in your income and outgoings. So perhaps, Alex, that's something that you could comment on. Do you have any thoughts about that?
Well, I guess it depends what we mean by proportionate division. And are you saying that I should give you half of all the money that's the surplus that's sort of left over that I've got every month, or what are you really asking for?
Well, it sounds odd when you say give it to me, because I don't actually want that money. Maybe we can have an account where it goes in and then certain things just get paid out of it, because it's not money that I'm asking for myself. It would be an account that simply pays what the children's, expenditures are. But if, I don't think it's right if I look at the bottom line of that, table, and you have 655 left over in an average month, and I have minus 350 left over. So if we can bring that closer and arrive at something where we can both have a bit of a surplus and it's a bit closer, then I think I'd be happy that was fair.
Well,
sorry, to interrupt you, Alex. I'm just wondering, are there any other options that we might, because that seems like one option there to balance out and for you to contribute in that way to the, I mean, basically it's it's the figure, possibly the figure skating expenses, but it's also to do with traveling and transport. So are there any other ways that you would be able to kind of balance out those payments if you're thinking you're going to struggle, Alex, to pay to cover what Anna's asking for? Are there any other ways?
I was about to say, and it probably links to what you've said, is I don't mind contributing more in principle, but I don't want to be paying for things that maybe don't need to be paid for. So maybe it's about thinking, as you were saying earlier, Anna, maybe it's about looking at the expenditure and do we really need to spend as much on certain things, and then also looking at what you need as a for living costs to when the children are with you and to keep you in the house.
And I guess one of the questions we could ask Kate if we speak to her about the skating is, we can give her a list of expenditures that, we normally pay for, and ask her if she would be happy with wearing sort of sometimes a secondhand, outfit for, her, because these are very expensive, when you buy them new, and she needs all these different outfits all the time. So I guess she's old enough to give that some thought and contribute herself, but I just basically want to still encourage her, or I want her to feel able to say, yes, I want to do this still.
I'm smiling because I can't see Kate wanting a second-hand outfit, but anyway. but maybe there's other sites.
It's utopian, isn't it, to think that she would, yeah.
But maybe there's other ways. Well, I don't know, because I know that you often stay over and things like that, and you've got all those hotel bills and things. Do you need to stay over every time, for example?
No, maybe we don't. I mean, we don't stay over every time, and maybe we can, do it less and just make it a long day of travel, leaving early and returning late.
But could I maybe summarise a few of the ideas that I've heard you talk about there? Because there's some really good suggestions. One of them was about potentially having a separate account that you could be paying money into specifically for some of these expenses, and that you could account for that. You could have a spreadsheet, whatever ticks your boxes, so to speak, with that, and then you can both be keeping an eye on it. And Anna, you were just saying then about kind of having a close look at where the things that could be cut down on that would still enable Kate to do the things she wants. I mean, those two ideas, are those things that you both feel you could sign up for, maybe? Because it sounds to me that this is needs to be flexible, and perhaps if you can agree and we could put a figure in your memorandum of understanding of how much you're going to pay in, then you can review that and maybe in 6 months' time think, is this enough? Can I still afford this? Do we need to have another talk with the children and look at what they want to do over the coming year and keep it on a rolling basis like that? Is that the sort of thing that would work in your circumstances?
I'm just wondering if we kind of agree some kind of proposals now. What happens if things do change, and that what happens if we need to change the amounts, or if either of us has sort of less income in the future?
Yeah, I think that a really sensible idea is to have an annual review or a 6-monthly review, or whatever the two of you can decide if you're okay to be working together in that way. And we can put that into the memorandum as well, so that you've got a clear, you can set your dates for the next 2 years if you wanted to, or even longer, and maybe tie them up with different activities the children might be doing or where they might be. And Kate's got 3 more years of being a dependent child if she continues with her further education. So there are some ways that there are, it's not a never-ending expenditure, is it? It's going to change.
What do you think about review periods, Anna?
I'm happy to do that, and and like I said, she might decide, that she doesn't want to do it anymore. She might discover boys and stuff, rather than training, and then we can think about, what we want to do, and maybe save some towards university instead, or not, or whatever. I'm happy with that. I think that's a good idea.
And just to to roll all that up together, have you both got a figure in mind that you could put into that? And I'm just kind of drawing your mind back to that deficit, Anna, that you had, because this has got to be realistic, hasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I would like to not have a deficit on a monthly basis, a built-in deficit. So I would like to be able to say, I want to pay not 650, but 650 less 350, which makes it 300, doesn't it? Does it? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the figures here, you're about 350 short each month. It's a little bit less, but I think we can make some savings there. So I wouldn't want to go above 300.
Okay.
Perhaps that would that maybe be a starting point that we could record, and then you can keep it under review.
But then, I'm sorry, but then are you suggesting that you pay less than you put down into the table previously, because you put down 350? Are you saying we are both putting down 300?
No, I'm saying you're paying out 650 a month, so you say, but I think that could be cheaper. I think you can make some savings there. So what I'm suggesting, because you're short by nearly £350, if I'm giving £300 a month, then you'll only be short by £47 a month. But I think we can make some savings there.
So I think we need to wind up this session now. I've been taking lots of notes, and you made a lot of progress. Really pleased. We'll be in touch with you with a summary of what you've said. There are lots of ideas there, and nice to see you again. We'll arrange another appointment if that's all right with you.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.
Right.
Вітаю вас. Як ви
Congratulations. How do you feel? Please don't put off your cameras. We want some decompression. You demonstrated great work, probably as you usually work on financial cases. How do you feel now? What would you like to share with us when you're out of your roles of mediators in the parties?
Over to our clients first, I think. Any comments? You don't have to. Oh.
Do you want to go first, Anna?
Yeah, you're on mute, Anna.
As a mediator myself, I think it was a fairly realistic, scenario. It could have gone a lot worse. I think we could have been a lot more hostile, which we weren't. But I think it's quite realistic.
Yeah, I felt I was being a little bit rotten at times, but I was trying to be realistic. I was trying to be realistic as well, and as Anna's saying, it could be more high conflict or more controversial than that at times. But I think it's fairly realistic, and sometimes that is just about somebody sort of making that shift, isn't it? Like Alex is sort of trying to be a bit stubborn at first, but probably knows all along really what the right thing is in that situation. But maybe just wanted to put a few markers down that for Alex, he doesn't want to concede ground too much or too quickly.
And I think what is particularly realistic is this idea that the parent who is asked to pay child support doesn't want that child support to go just to the other parent. They hate that idea that,
Exactly.
that they can then just do what they want with it, but the idea that there's maybe a proper account that is just for that, I think that makes it a lot easier for people to swallow the bitter pill.
Ну, власне, в цьому наші медіації абсолютно ідентичні. Ми чуємо те саме питання.
Yeah, this is true for us as well. We hear the same questions, that the focus will go to one of the ex-partners, and on the contrary, when the money is directed particularly to the child, this is something different. And when you speak about the emotions, that it could be much more emotional, We think that this is the third session already. We had two sessions previously. I will read now the question in English. How many mediation sessions take in UK a divorce with children and property distribution?
Joe?
I would say usually 3 to 4. It could be as little as 2 or as many as 6 or 7, but I would say on average 3 to 4.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Yeah.
Надзвичайно дякую вам, Judy.
Thanks a lot, Judith, Joe. And now you are still called Anna and Alex, but I know that you're Stephanie and Stefan. I'm really grateful to you, and we all are grateful to you for the perfect simulation. Now we have 10 minutes break, and we all can put the cameras off, have some water, get some grounding, and we see each other at 20 to 8 for the simulation of Ukrainian case. It's Ukrainian time. In the UK, it's 1740. In the States, is 1140, if I'm not mistaken. See you.
Ще раз всім доброго вечора.
Good evening again to everyone. I somehow cannot see Victoria. Okay. Dear colleagues, please get back. I hope that most of us can hear. Now the floor is with mediators of Ukrainian side, mediators and parties. I'm happy to welcome you. Ukrainian side will be represented by Victoria and Olga today. The floor is yours. Please introduce yourself, just in brief, your case, and you have 30 minutes before Q&A session. Good luck with your mediation. Thanks a lot, Svetlana. Victoria de Miller, family mediator. I'm a co-founder and member of Association of Family Mediators of Ukraine. I'm happy to be here with my colleague, co-mediator Olga. Olga? Yes, friends. I'm Olga Titunek. I'm a family and business mediator. I'm glad to be with you today to play this interesting case. Our case is the same information which has been presented by our colleagues from other countries. The only thing which I would like to add is that our parties, Anna and Alex, they have been divorced since 1 year, and the question about the alimony has not been solved yet. and they don't have any court cases, so voluntarily they came to mediation just to solve this issue by peaceful means and mediation. This is just our difference, the difference of our case. So let's start. Anna, Alex, hello. We are happy to see you again. Thanks a lot for sending your home tasks to us, which we discussed last time with you. We worked with it, and a bit later, Ola will show it to you that we make sure that we understood everything correctly. Last time we spoke that there are two topics which you are concerned with at the moment. They're the question of financial support to the kids and about the property, the assets, some nuances which you would like to discuss and solve. Is it still like that, or probably something has changed? Yeah, no, everything is correct. Everything is correct, yes. Okay, thanks a lot. In this case, please, right now, just in brief, maybe 3 minutes each, if possible, tell us what would you like to resolve in these issues? What is important for you here? Alex, please, maybe you start. Thanks. Thanks for your help. Well, I think that you presented everything perfectly well. It's expenditures for the kids. Somehow before this moment, we haven't reached any agreement in this regard, and also about the property. Well, last time we mentioned that Max studies in musical school, and I have some wishes regarding the instrument he's playing. So the topic of children's support today is important for you because before this issue hasn't been solved or discussed. And regarding the property, there is one question. This is the musical instrument for the kid, which you would like to choose. Thanks a lot, Alex. Anna? Yes, so really the topic of the children's support is also important for me. I would like to discuss it because as of today, all the expenditures, all the costs, almost all the costs for the kids are with me, and it's not easy for me. That's why I would like to discuss the issue of the alimony. And the second question, which is burning for us, is our common apartment, which we own together with Alex. At the moment, I live in this apartment with my kids. And in future, how we solve this issue, I would like to talk about it today. So you also, as well as Alex, would like to discuss the topic of the children's support, financial support, and also you have a question regarding your common apartment, where you live at the moment with kids. Yeah, true. Okay, then let's begin. Which topic would you like to cover first? Let's start with the apartment. Alex, are you ready to discuss this topic? Well, let's begin with this topic, apartment. Okay. Probably then, just to have the full picture, we will look through the information which you have sent to us. It includes the information regarding the apartment, and then we can move forward. Yeah, now I want to demonstrate my screen. And of course, we have to compare the figures, and our process moves faster. I sent you this table, and probably you have some questions, and we have to discuss it. It's a very, very simple. Here we have your income. Anna, you said that your income is 8,000 hryvnias. At the same moment, you have some additional jobs from time to time, and it's from 6,000 to 12,000 hryvnias. Alex also has almost the same 9,000 basic income and additional income from 10,000 to 25,000. Is it correct? Yes. So also a question, there is a certain difference in the figures regarding the additional income. And when we are going to discuss the expenditures for the kids, the financial issues, can we just take as the basis some average figures? How do you look at it? As far as you understand, my additional income is really average, and now it really depends whether I have this additional work or not. A lot of factors influence that. So, okay, let's try. So we can take into consideration more or less average income, which for you, Alex, is 9,000 plus 17,500. I'll put this general figure here. And Anna, for you, is it possible to use the same formula, your basic earnings plus this additional 8 plus 9? Yeah, it's going to be average because my additional income is I'm teaching and it's seasonal. This situation, it's not stable. Okay, so then I will put down these figures and you see this new table. Also, let's compare the expenditures, which we used to discuss last time. I tried to divide it into your personal expenditures, personal costs. We will talk about the apartment now. So let's discuss just a part of this table. Anna, now you live in this apartment. You bought it when you were married already, and now you spend 2,000 for the utilities. And you, Alex, you are renting a separate apartment, and you pay 7,000 for rent and 1,000 for communal service for utilities, right? Yeah, the figures are correct. Okay, thanks. Let's put it down the table, and we can discuss what is important for you in the apartment. Anna, you offered this topic, so can you tell us more about this? Yes, sure. Regarding the apartment, I would like to say first that this apartment we bought together when we were married with Alex, but the bigger part for the purchase of the apartment was given by my parents. If we talk about the general sum, we paid $70,000 for it. 60,000 was paid by my parents. It was their part, and 10,000 was the sum which we earned together with Alex, and it was paid by us. Also, we had some costs for renovation. It was about $6,000. And of course, from my side, it will be correct to say that into the renovation, Alex also invested a lot of his manpower, a lot of efforts, many things he did himself. We were a young family and we were saving money, so he did a lot. And right now the question is, how are we going to solve this apartment issue? Whether Alex wants to claim a part of this apartment. Do you understand correctly, Anna, that you want to make it clear, this issue? You said before that this apartment is registered on your name, but you say that your parents paid $60,000 for that. 10,000 was your common money with Alex, and additionally you spent 6,000 for renovation. And at the same time, you recognize that Alex invested a lot of his own manpower into the renovation. Is it correct? Yes. So how do you, Anna, see this solution of this issue? Well, right now, I would like to taken into consideration that it was our common apartment, our children were born here, I live here right now with the kids, and also taken into consideration that the bigger part was paid by my parents, I would like to stay in this apartment, that this apartment is left for me and I can live here with the kids. That's why we have a car also. We took a loan for it, and the most part of it we paid together already. Now Alex continues paying it. He uses this car, and I suggest that I don't want any of the car, and Alex doesn't want anything of the apartment. Alex, do you hear what Anna is saying regarding the apartment and the car and the financial roles, investments of you and the parents, and what is your attitude to it? Maybe you agree with Anna's point of view, or I mean the way you purchased the apartment. Yeah, that's true. What Anna said. And by the way, I'm very pleased that you recognize my input into the renovation. It was very important for me to hear that. Yes, yes, true, because this is a fact. Well, when we were separating, I did not insist on dividing this apartment in a different way. I understand that the kids need a place to live in, and basically I agree. But of course, under the condition that the car, which we also bought together, will stay my property, because this is my working instrument, and I think that such distribution will be fair. Alex, at the moment, who is the loan for the car, and the car itself, on whose name is it registered right now? It's registered on me, but we used to pay we paid already the part of the loan. We're paying it together with Anna. So $12,000 we have paid already, 6 and 6. And I'm ready to pay it on my own further. So, but the car will stay with me. It will stay my property. So the car is registered on your name, and you continue paying the loan, and the apartment is registered on you, Anna. Is it correct? Yeah. And both of you agree to that. So legally, there is no any issues. No. This situation which exists right now, I'm personally satisfied with it. Anna, when you gave us the documents, there was also some information about the loan for the washing machine. In this regard, this loan, I'm able to pay it on my own. It was my own decision to buy it, and here I don't want anything. The only thing which I would like to emphasize, as well as costs for the kids, compared to the costs for the kids, this loan for the washing machine is not significant. It's not important, and it's not big money. I'm able to undertake this cost. So let's sum up. This information which you submitted to us, this financial information, it was submitted to be used during the mediation. So you would like to keep the apartment with you. Alex would like to keep the car, and you don't mind it. Both of you don't mind it. Alex will continue paying a loan for the car, and the loan for the washing machine, we just accept it. It's your costs which you want to undertake personally, and you're able to do it. And it's not even on the table. At the same moment, it's very important for you to talk about the costs for the kids. And let's make sure that we both agree on that. Alex, do you think that this part about the property is finished? And whether we can move forward to discuss the issue of the kids? Yeah, of course. This question about the piano is also very important. It's also correlated with the financial part. So let's talk about it. Okay, let's get back to your home task. I prepared the table. Will it be convenient for you? I divided your expenditures. Personal expenditures, we don't talk about them anymore. We're talking about the costs for the kids. Your financial information was presented to us, and we saw that some of the costs you undertake permanently, and some of the costs are just situational. They are like one-time costs. For example, it was a camp where the kids are planning to go to, and as far as we understood, you haven't yet paid for this camp. It's something planned, something new, yeah? Yeah, it's planned, it's still planned. So you would like to agree on this? Okay, thanks. So about the permanent costs, let's agree on them. So figure skating of Katya, massage, piano, piano lessons, musical school, dentist, school of Kate and pocket money, school of Max and his pocket money. As far as I understood, Anna, these are your expenditures and you are paying everything yourself. Yes, today, as of today, it's like that. So you would like to change something right now? Yes, I would like to change it because, you know, after the divorce, the kids are, of course, they are also concerned about it, and they come to me and say, oh, you know, Mom, the father bought a notebook for Kate and a telephone for Max. It means that the father is a holiday, and what the mother is paying is not even taken into consideration. And this point is a little bit painful for me, because I think that all the costs for the kids, their health, their pocket money, their school, and their sports, it's important, and it's for the kids. And that's why I think it would be fair to share it 50-50. Anna, how much time are you undertaking these costs on your own? You divorced a year ago, and how much time have you been paying this on your own? Yeah, during all this time I was paying it, because we agreed that the kids will live 2 weeks with me and 2 weeks with the father. And from the beginning, this issue wasn't even taken into consideration. And then with life ongoing, we realized that there are some costs for the kids. And me, for example, I support this figure skating hobby of Kate. When we lived together, I was mainly involved into this financial issues. I knew all the accounts, where to pay, to whom to pay it. And when we divorced and we started to live separately, that all stayed with me. I continued to do that. But now I'm undertaking this on my own. It's only me who pays for that, and that I would like to share it to get some compensation, maybe in form of alimony for the children, at least for these permanent expenditures. Anna, do I understand correctly that this was your family tradition when you lived together, that this technical moments were all covered by you, and expenditures for the family were for the kids were shared by the family? And when you divorced, you started to pay it all on your own. And do you want to change right now only the financial part, or are you ready to undertake the technical part on your own, or shall we discuss it right now too? The way you paid, who is paying it? In fact, it's not really important for me. I can continue doing it technically. The most burning thing for me is the financial side. If Alex says that he would like to pay something himself, well, I will give him all the information, all the financial paperwork, all the accounts, and he's able to do it himself. So, okay, you're flexible, you're ready to discuss it. Alex, do you see your own personal expenditures for the kids, which I inserted into the table? Is it all relevant? So you paid exactly what Anna was mentioning for a notebook of Kate. It took a loan for it, and also the same situation is with the phone for Max, and you also took a loan for it, correct? You're still paying 500 for the notebook and 350 per month for the telephone, and altogether you spend 850 hryvnias per month. Yeah, that's true, but I wanted to add to explain my position regarding the expenditures for the kids, which Anna was mentioning. Yes, I admit that so far Anna has been paying more. Thank you very much for this concept, father holiday. But yeah, we mentioned the apartment now. And my position, initial position was that I would not insist on taking back of my money invested into the apartment. And according to my calculations, we said that near 10,000 we paid together for the apartment, then 6,000 was paid for renovation, and that was all left for Anna, all was left for the kids, and you're using it, and it's okay. But because we also were taking into account the loan for the car, we have paid already part of this loan together with Anna. It's an average $6,000. And I think the difference between my share in the apartment and the share of Anna in the car, the difference is $2,000, and it's more or less the sum which stays at Anna's side. And I think that we can consider this 2,000 money which covers the expenditures which Anna undertook for the kids. Alex, if I understand you correctly, you say that the 2,000 which were left for Anna compensate all the expenditures for the school year, which Anna was covering according to her words herself. Or do you think that this sum can cover some more extended period of time? Well, if we take, if we are fair, then, well, for the year she paid for the kids more or less, yeah, that's 2,000. If Anna agrees to that, let's think that all the past expenditures, I don't take part in them, and in future, I'm ready to discuss it. Okay. So if we talk about the future, what is your vision of the future? Here, I would like to discuss the issue of buying the instrument for Alex, because this is also important. I don't mind sharing the costs in future, but I would like Anna to undertake these costs to buy the instrument. because we discussed it before. Alex does need this instrument. We have it in our old apartment where Anna lives, but I would like to have the same instrument in my apartment that Alex is ready to train. Also, when Max is ready, is able to train, also when he's with me. So you're ready to discuss the sharing the costs for the kids. And separately, you would like to underline purchasing of the musical instrument for the kid, and you would like Anna to participate in that, correct? Anna, have you heard the information Alex has just mentioned regarding compensation of this 2,000, which can cover all the costs you undertook during the year? What is your opinion about it? Yeah, I've heard it. Honestly speaking, I'm a little bit surprised about the musical instrument. I'm ready. Okay, let's compensate everything what I have already spent. But I expect, my question is, and what is then? What is further? I understood from what Alex said, he would like to buy the musical instrument, and you want me to participate in that, correctly? Yes. I thought that we are both interested that the kid does not interrupt his training. We cannot carry the piano from one apartment to another. And Max says that it's important for him. Did you try to find out how much it costs, the piano? Yeah, we insist that it's a new instrument. I can try to look probably for a used one. So basically, you can find out how much it costs. Just because now at the moment we don't know how much money do you need for the instrument. Yeah, I can do it, but for me it's important that Anna agrees in principle. Anna, correct me if I'm wrong. I've heard that you are surprised, and probably you did not expect, as you said, that Alex might want your participation in purchasing of the piano. What's your attitude to that? For me, it's not expected. Obviously, I was hoping that it will get easier if we agree on some sum of the alimony and costs for the kids, because it's not easy for me right now. And if I agree that all the sums that I have spent already are not compensated by Alex, but in future he takes over some part of it. But now there's a new topic, instrument, and I think that it's not cheap, the instrument. And for you, it's at the moment taking into consideration your financial situation, your income. So it's worsening the situation. Yeah, true. Well, I would like to underline that my position is that in future, the costs for the kids, I'm ready to get involved into it. Because de facto, we are sharing this cost right now. And I don't insist that you buy the piano on your own. We can also share it.
Брали участь пополам, навпіл.
So you want us to participate 50-50 into it? Yes, in the piano, yes. Do I understand you correctly that if we take this table as the basis, we can use a part of it for the future expenditures? And as far as I understand, the structure of these expenditures, monthly expenditures, will not most probably change, or maybe it will. But for sure, there will be another line, which we call situational, occasional. So here we have for a piano, and so far we don't know how much it costs. At the same time, Alex voiced the general principle that he is ready to in future to undertake the costs for the kids 50-50, correct? Yes, sure. And regarding the structure of these expenditures, Alex, do you have some comments? No, basically not. Everything which is mentioned there is within the interests of the kids. Of course, we can't discuss it, the dentist or figure skating or music. Well, of course, it's understandable. I have no questions. Let's leave it like that. Thanks a lot. Colleagues, we are a little bit, yeah, please 30 seconds to wrap up. Yeah, we just wanted to give home tasks to the sites to finalize this table and to discuss whether the expenditures will change. Maybe the line for the dentist will change. And when we meet next time, we will be able to get back to this discussion at the same time as we always do. I motivated the sites to use the table and to submit it to us before the meeting that we can prepare for it. Victoria, do you want to add something? No, the only thing is that we were talking with the parties about it's not a court decision, it's mediation agreement. And for us, it was important for how much time are they agreeing to that, taking into consideration the age of the kids, that the expenditures, the sums might be changing. Also, that was worth mentioning. Okay, thanks. Thanks for this comment. Of course, the kids will be growing up. Thanks a lot. Thanks. Thanks a lot, dear colleagues. We are extremely thankful to you for the job which you demonstrated, and we know that there are some differences between the approaches, how you worked. How do you feel right now? In general, maybe you want to add something. Well, at the moment, the experience of online mediation is growing up. And this experience, when we have so many spectators, it's a bit, well, interesting, but I'm grateful that I've got this experience, and I'm grateful to my co-mediator, to my colleague mediators, Anna and Pavlo, because they helped us to simulate this. I'm also grateful to everyone. In fact, Anna and Pavlo, you were really polite. You were polite. Yes, that's true. Not every mediation is like that. We understand it's not the first meeting and escalation which used to be in place. It was diffused, and tension is not as it used to be. And now I was just at the highest point of excitement, and we are out of time. And of course, in real life, we have more than 30 minutes, and then, yeah, but anyway, we are grateful for this experience. And the most important is our task today, as we are trying to achieve it, and I think that we are doing well. It's not to work with the emotions or relationship and just to show the peculiarities of work with finances. And you demonstrated a lot that you share a screen. And I'm sorry that the colleagues from the English-speaking countries couldn't see, couldn't understand what was exactly written there. And I thought they understood that different groups of expenditures were mentioned there, and you're helping the sites to structure their information to make it clear, because normally this information is quite chaotic. Yeah, we can translate it and submit it to our English-speaking colleagues. And now, to be in time, we will get back to the format which we suggested from the very beginning. I cannot see any questions to you, but we have some comments. I will read it in the original for you. Хорошо, що добре, що медіатори пропонують допомогу один одному та показують, що вони розуміють, про що йдеться.
Вам ви показували слухання та резюмування і таким чином допомагали учасникам говорити і давали.
So by this means they were assisting the participants to talk and give the floor to each other. Now we are going to the general discussion. Most of the questions we got to the American side, so we will collect these questions and we'll offer it to the American side. And during the discussion, I motivate our participants who were not participants of the simulation. Please, you can put your questions to the Ukrainian side, to our mediators, to the parties regarding what has been happening right now. And if you have some questions or comments, please put them down. I will ask them when we go to the general discussion. Thanks a lot. Now we can see cameras of Michael and Kent. They are on. And I will right now try to show them on the big screen to you that they are able to answer the questions addressed to the American side. Here you are. Dear colleagues, I have seen that in the chat you have already answered some of the questions. There is one question which, Michael, you have already partially answered when you were talking about the case from the very beginning, but it gives an opportunity to you to talk details about this topic.
Is there any help received from the parties to make it easier for him to get prepared? For example, the list of assets, their evaluation of assets, who wants to take what? You mentioned that there is a so-called sworn financial statement. That is a document which the participants fill in advance, and they swear that it's true. Could you please share some information, or maybe you have something to add regarding this comment and about this financial document as well?
Можливо, там щось вимкнулось, бо не чутно перекладу.
I'm sorry, there is something wrong with the translation. Translation in the English.
I'm hearing the English translation very well. Yeah, I think the translation is working. Anyway, the question I heard there was the sworn related to the sworn financial statement and information that the mediator acquires prior to mediation, basically, I think was the question. You know, that's just really important part of the process here. I just going back to what I was observing a bit here, in terms of the approaches we took to our different simulations, I think in the US example, we looked much more at the income side of things as opposed to the expenses related to the children. So that's two different ways of approaching really the same problem. I mean, as a mediator, what you want to do is try to help the family structure a financial situation where they can move on with their lives, right? And also make sure that, of course, the children are taken care of as a priority, but also the real financial needs of the parents as well. So, but back to the sworn financial statement, I think, Svetlana, I believe the plan is to share that after this session via documents to each participant. And our sworn financial statements are very lengthy. So it's typically about 10 pages worth of information.
Here is the document that you sent me, and I will just at least scroll it. Вибачте, скажу українською. Це документ, який Майкл вже відправляє мені. Це є той самий financial statement.
This is a document Mike has already sent to me, so I'll just scroll through it to show to you that before the mediation, the participants, they have a lot of work to do. So Mike, now you got the floor to comment.
Right, and you'll get a chance to look at this in detail. We're just giving you an idea of how long and complicated it is. Now, this is information that's required by the parties, by our courts, to provide to the court to finalize a divorce. So my feeling is if the parties are required by the court to provide this document, our mediation is designed to help people get an agreement that the court will approve, is that they should provide that at the time of mediation. Now, it's a sworn financial statement, which means when you submit that statement to a court, and if there's anything that's false on that statement and you're swearing it's true, that's contempt of court, which is it's a legal offense to do that to the court, and there can be consequences, including fines and, in extreme cases, jail time on the parties for doing that. Obviously, in mediation, we can't enforce those consequences. We also can't necessarily check inconsistencies. And I think one of the interesting things in Ukraine, you have your I'm not sure the terms again. Your reported income, and then your additional income or extra income. Is that the phrase?
Власне, те, про що ти говориш, там є зарплата.
Yes, what you mean, it's their reported income or the salary. This is their permanent income you can rely on each month. And this part was like permanent income and also additional income, which in our specific case could fluctuate from month to month. For example, the teacher was given private lessons, and the electrician, apart from his official job, he had some odd jobs where he earned money additionally, but he couldn't foresee the amount he will earn next month. But I understand your point. We were discussing, so there is this official part, reported income, which can be verified. It's true, and there is the second part, which we cannot count, which we cannot understand, that the parties report, and it's true.
And when I was looking at the income of our parties, I did ask each of them if they felt like the other party's income was being reported accurately, right? And if they didn't, then that would be an issue we need to get into in more detail. I also probably, in a real mediation where we had a real amount of time, question each party about what the other party's reporting in caucus. So in separate session where it's just myself and either party, I would say to Anna, is Alex's income here accurate, do you feel? And then she could tell me in confidence whether she felt like it was. I mean, one of the things we run into all the time, not all the time, one of the things we run into many times is, and Ken's laughing here, is an inaccurate reporting of income by one or sometimes both of the parties, right? So they have income that's not being reported on the sworn financial statement for various reasons. It's not like it's criminal activity, but they're just not reporting it, or they feel like they don't have to, or that sort of thing. So we deal with that issue systematically and quite a bit, actually. In this scenario, we didn't deal with that problem. So kind of our perspective is we need the numbers to be accurate at the start. And if they're not, we need to spend some time getting them accurate. So in our example, the equity value in the house was an agreed upon equity value. If the parties had not agreed to that equity value, then an appraisal might be necessary, or a cost analysis of the value of the house might be needed to be done by an outside expert to make that calculation work.
Дякую, Майкле.
Thank you, Mike. we have some more minutes to ask you some questions from those which were asked. You have already answered, so I'd like to comment in the chat. There was a question, but you already answered it. The question whether mediator has to be an attorney in order to prepare the mediation agreement, and you answered that in Colorado, the mediator doesn't have to be an attorney, and the memorandum of understanding issued from the mediation, it's legally binding irrespective of the fact whether it's prepared by an attorney or not. I'm commenting it for those who are watching our event as recorded and they cannot follow the chat room. Now we'll move to the questions to our British colleagues, and we don't have lots of them, so I would like to ask you, colleagues, Mike, Kent, Caroline, maybe you, when observing the British simulation, or Ukrainian colleagues, whether you had any questions now to the British colleagues, or perhaps a comment you would like to address to them.
I'm sorry, are you asking for my comment or Kent or Carolina?
Будь-хто з вас, якщо ви мали
any of you, if you had something to comment upon or the question to the British colleagues, if you have any question or comment, so now it's the perfect time to voice them. If not, it's okay, because we have our own questions. We have things to ask Judith, Joe. I have a question, may I? Yes, sure. Do I have to turn on my video? I have the question about co-mediation. Are there any situations when co-mediators interfere with each other's work? So as I understand, this is a question to the British mediators. So wait a minute, sorry. Now I'll pin the videos of our British colleagues. Helena, thank you for the question. Judith, Joe, who would like to answer this question about co-mediators interfering with each other's work? Any of you can answer. Judith, Joe, did you understand the question?
Joe, do you want to say something about this?
I think I understand. It's about how people kind of work together. And one thing I would say is I think it's quite difficult on Zoom, because we all have the problem of trying to time how we interact with each other on a Zoom. So today was the first time that I've done co-mediation on Zoom. And Judith and I often work with Stefan, who is Alex in our scenario. We quite often co-mediate together, and you get to know how the other person works. And we tend to get tuned into when you're on a roll, if you know what I mean, with where your questions are going, we know when to leave each other to do that. But sometimes it's good to have a little bit of a pause, and you need a bit of thought time in the middle of a mediation. Well, I do anyway. And so that's when it's good for your co-mediator to maybe pick up something. And does that help?
And if I can add a couple of things, because in community mediation, it's always co-mediators, because they're going to people's houses. And what we say in community mediation is that there's a possibility of modeling a kind of productive dialogue together and trying to bring the clients along with you in that way. So I might say to Joe, Joe, I'm not really sure if I understand that. Can you explain it? Or I feel a bit lost. Or do you mind if we summarize now? It's like, well, it sort of spreads the workload for a start. And so it can be really really useful. And sometimes I worry, and you know, this is just an issue with mediation generally, that if you have two women mediating, the male, if it's a couple with a man and woman, might feel there's going to be a gender bias. So I don't know about you, Joe, but I always check in that situation, you know, can you trust us to be impartial? This is really important. We'd probably cover this in the assessment meeting. That can be an issue. I don't know if Stefan has got anything to say. I don't know if he's here.
Так, Стефан та
Yeah.
Стефі, ви можете включити камери.
Stefan, Steffi, you can turn on your cameras.
Yeah, hi.
Now we can see you.
Yeah, I mean, just to support what Judith's saying, really, I think we always do consider gender balance where possible. And it's usually about having that discussion with clients. And sometimes I've even worked with another male mediator, but we always check that out with the parties. And from my experience, the female clients, either before and afterwards, have said that's been absolutely fine. I think generally clients trust in our impartiality.
Дякую. Є follow-up запитання з...
Thank you. We have a follow-up question from Halina. How does co-mediation affect the cost of mediation?
Oh, well, I think that's, you know, one of the reasons we don't do it very much. It used to be the model when mediation started in the UK. It was very much the model that I was taught, and I sat in with some brilliant mediators, watching both of them work together, and that's why, in a way, that I have that basis of really wanting to do that. But then, when you're running, this was in the days when there were more charitable grants for mediation practices and less lawyers involved. And as the mediation practice in the UK, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, anybody else from the UK, but I do feel that it's become, I mean, it has, there's no doubting about it. It's a business. Mediation is a business now. We don't get grants, and we have to survive on the fees that we earn. So, you know, it makes sense to run a tighter business and not have co-mediation. For most people. However, I personally don't see why we can't work around this. And, you know, people may be willing to charge more if it's pay more if it's something that, you know, it feels right for them. So I think there's room for more, but definitely it's not seen as a financially viable option generally. I hope that answers your question.
Just to add to that, Judith, there's I feel a really important role for co-mediating when you're training mediators.
Yeah.
I know it might be stating the obvious, but that can be really important, where people work with you and learn from more experienced mediators.
Yeah. Okay.
Joe, чи ти хотіла щось додати, чи може я передати?
Joe, would you like to add anything, or we can move on to the next question?
Yeah, no, move on.
Okay. Шановні колеги, учасники, які зараз...
Dear colleagues, participants who are watching us, listening to us, I would like you to use this button, raise hand, and I'll give you floor to ask the question. So I can read questions from the chat. You may not write questions in the chat, but just this raise hand button, raise your hand, we'll see it and we'll give you their screen. Dear colleagues, and I have the question to you. When you started the case, you said that based on the online calculator, this is the amount of the child support and spousal support can be determined. Can you please tell us more what tool is that and how the support, the maintenance is being calculated, because I haven't seen it in our practice.
I could comment on that. We have a calculator for maintenance and for child support. It's a family calculator because the amount of maintenance will affect the amount of child support to some degree. But it's a computer program that's based on the state laws in Colorado in terms of obligations for child support and obligations for spousal maintenance. What you input are, and I think this might be different in the calculator that's referred to in the UK example, but it's any type of, on the child support side, any type of parenting arrangement. So anywhere from a 50-50 timeshare for parenting to one parent having the child 100% of the time, and the other parent not having any direct parenting time with the child. And anything in between, so 50-50 or every other weekend with one parent or the other, that sort of thing. So it inputs the time, the parenting time, and it also inputs the income of each parent. There's a few expenses that get inputted, like child health care, insurance costs, if there's regular expenses for a child, et cetera. But it's basically income and the parenting time arrangement. And the spousal maintenance calculator is based on the income of each parent and the length of marriage. And that produces a monthly amount of spousal maintenance that would be recommended according to the calculation, plus a length of time, which is generally about 50% of the length of the marriage, up to 10 years. And then I just want to say, if you think you understand what I just said, that's great. But the way it actually works is a bit different than what I said, because and this is not going to make any sense to you, because it doesn't make any sense to anybody, including myself. The calculation on the spousal maintenance, as I said, is based on income of each party, right? But the statute, our law, says that maintenance is based on income plus several other factors. And the statute actually lists the factors, things like need of each party, retraining needed by a party that would be an expense. Like if you have a spouse that doesn't work during the marriage and they need retraining to be more employable, they need a college degree or technical training, that sort of thing. That can be factored in there, and several other factors. I think I'm missing a couple, Ken, if you want to chime in. And then there's also kind of all other needs. So while you get a calculation of maintenance, it's only a suggestion, right? So if there's other factors that come into play, such as, and this is one I didn't mention, but you saw in our role play, such as a division of an asset like a pension, or a division of debt that's unequal to 50-50, that can influence the maintenance level. So in our scenario, basically what you saw was the parties agreeing to waive the maintenance calculation in consideration of, in this case, the wife getting a little more of the assets in terms of pension and the equity value in the house. So that's how that works.
Майкле, дякую тобі за відповідь. Я також бачу, що в чаті відповідає Джейн на це запитання.
Mike, thanks a lot for your answer. Now I see that Jane is answering in the chat this question from the British team. Jane, maybe you'd like to give your answer verbally so we can have it recorded for everybody. Also, Jane sent the link to the British calculator. We will put this link in our letters, which we'll send to you as follow-up to this event. I see Jane is not joining us. Joe, Judith, can you comment on this calculator in Great Britain?
The child maintenance service, which I mentioned in the session, has an online calculator that it's not nearly as it sounds as kind of nuanced as the American model, in that it's based solely on the income of the paying parent, and so it's a percentage I think it's 15% for the first child, and it increases depending on how many children there are. It's also dependent on how many nights the children spend with the paying parent. But what we're finding increasingly is that certainly the things that the government have set up, and that includes the child support and benefits, do not fit well with the increasing number of people who are having equal shared parenting, because those tend to exclude those arrangements, and it makes it quite difficult. So as I described in this scenario, we couldn't use the child maintenance service. It's also, and you can go to a court, but only if you're earning an awful lot more money than that. I think it's £3,000 a week. You can then apply to court for child support. It's quite a different system. We do have spousal maintenance as well, but again, it doesn't often come up in the everyday cases that we deal with. It tends to be the higher net worth cases, because the British courts have this, there's a principle of a clean break that needs to be always considered first. So if you've got a way of dividing assets without having to have spousal maintenance, that's something to always look at first, if that helps.
Однозначно це допомагає. Дякую дуже за цю розшифровку.
Thanks a lot. It's very helpful. I saw that Jane, you sent the calculator. We will attach it to our emails. And now, dear colleagues, if you have any questions to the Ukrainian side, it's the best time to voice them or to put them into the chat room. Let me check whether we have anything in the chat. I can't see it. If you were observing mediation of the Ukrainian side and you had some comments or questions, please raise your hand and voice them. Joe, yes, please.
Yeah, could I ask if the memorandums, the agreements you reach, are they legally binding in the way that the American ones can be? Because in the UK we aren't able to do that.
Колеги, Ольга, Вікторія, чи зрозуміли ви запитання?
Did you understand the question, colleagues? Yes, I think so. I can answer that in our case, the couple did not go to the court, and this kind of couples which either haven't yet divorced or they just don't want to go to the court, they can on their own divide the assets and to determine the sum of alimony which they will pay. And they can go to the notary, and this contract between the parents regarding the performance of parents' rights, it can be notarized, and in this case it is legally binding. And if this procedure is in the court, then there are different instruments, new agreements, and the agreement reached during the mediation can be a basis for the court decision. And the point of view to these agreements which are being concluded during the mediation, we have an understanding that they are legally binding. There is no special law in Ukraine, but traditionally, this contract, this agreement achieved during the mediation, it is legally binding. I think that I have an answer in the chat from Galina. This table which you used to demonstrate to ease the work for the parties, was it something that you developed on your own, or was it some common traditional form? Can you share this part with us? Yeah, thanks a lot. At this moment, we don't have any form because any case is different, is special, and the instruments which we use to each couple for mediation are of course different. We have some forms, and yeah, well, this one we developed ourselves based on the data which we received from the parties. I would like to add that this Excel sheet can look differently, and it's interesting that we use it because even the parents can fill it in on their own. This is a Google table which they can comment on, and we can jointly work on it. It's just convenient, and it helps the process, and it's transparent. It's transparent, everyone can see everything. We don't use just Google sheets, Excel sheets, we can use other online instruments. And as Olga said, it's just depends on the situation. I wanted to add, thanks for your comment. I would like to add that it's important when we work with the parties with this spreadsheets between the sessions. The very important rule is only the mediators are able to fill in the tables, and the parties only have the right to comment. This is our rule, because we by accident can delete something, and sometimes people make mistakes, not intentionally even. So this is our rule, that only we work with the tables and the parties comment, and then we discuss, and we put the data into the table. Thanks a lot, colleagues. Diana, please, your question, and we will wrap up very soon. Please. Thanks a lot. In fact, this general question in the context of online and using online for mediators from all the countries. When you use not just Excel spreadsheets, when you don't have an opportunity to fix something on the flip chart, do you use instrument of Jamboard or some other instrument which exists in Zoom, when you can make a board and make some notes? Do you use these boards? Or what about confidentiality? What about confidentiality challenges? Diana, I'm sorry, is it a question just for us or for all the mediators? It's to everyone. Okay, thanks a lot. Look, we use all the applications, all the applications which you enumerated we use. I personally don't like the board of Zoom. My master we use, and Jamboard would also like it because we can download information from them and it's convenient. I personally use it less often. And regarding confidentiality, for example, me and Victoria, with whom we work a lot as co-mediators in real life, as a rule, we agree with the parties, and we fix it in our preliminary agreement that we will use these messengers, these particular applications. Some parties, they have their own vision, which messenger is more safe, more credible, which storage is more safe. We discuss it beforehand, and we say that use of this instrument can help the mediation process. If people agree, we do it. If people do not agree, then we will not do it. We will use the instruments which are more common, just email or even hard documents. Thanks a lot, colleagues. Judith, Michael, Joe, do you want to comment or answer this question? The only thing I would like to mention is that we have our last minutes, and so please be brief.
So, do you want us to comment?
Would you like to?
On the last, the confidentiality and the use of apps and things? Yeah,
Діана спитала перш за все про використання онлайн інструментів.
Diana asked in the first place about online instrument, Mediation bot, Google Docs, whether you use them, and if you do use them, how do you approach confidentiality aspect?
Some people use them a lot. Some people, I suppose I have to say that where we are in York, we're not as advanced as that. But it's really great to hear that you are, you're making use of those apps. And certainly the, Excel spreadsheets work brilliantly, and very good to be able to work with the clients online using those apps. So yeah, I don't know about you, Joe, or.
Yeah, I use Zoom, and there's debates about security. I know with various platforms. I'm not a technical expert by any means, so I can't really comment on that. I've had people that know what they're talking about in terms of security advise me to use Zoom, so that's the reason I'm doing it. One suggestion is, and maybe this can go out in the communication after the session, is if you have questions about that, there's an organization called iCoder, which is the International Council on Online Dispute Resolution, and they are really developing an online dispute resolution field at looking at all kinds of issues, utility, but also definitely security. So I would refer you to iCoder with questions like that.
Shall I just say we use Teams, because that is the most secure of Zoom, WhatsApp, or any of these other things. It also links to calendars, so we find it easier to make appointments with clients, mediators, using one shared calendar, and Teams is the one that is most secure. It's certainly the one that government uses for any meetings.
See, I don't agree with that, but I don't know what I'm talking about. I've heard Zoom is more secure. So I think this is an example of moving into online. The field needs to do some work, in terms of security and utility.
I'm no expert, but I do have people in the office who are really tech whizzy, who would put me right on anything. But that's why we use Zoom, because it not for GDPR, for data protection.
Can I make another comment? Can I add something?
Yes.
Jane, do you need to finish?
Jane, I think we need to finish. Do you want to finish your idea?
I thought Ola wanted to say something.
Well, if you have finished, then we're passing the word.
Oh no, that's fine.
Okay. Будь ласка, Ольга.
Olga, please, the last comment. Olga? Oh, sorry, I didn't understand you address me. My comment is very brief. If speaking about applications, it's important to have premium paid accounts, because those free basic accounts, they are not very reliable in terms of security. But when we are using different applications, it's paid accounts. Of course, it increases our expenses, but it adds security. Dear colleagues, thanks a lot. Thanks, Laurie. Laurie sends link on to the web page about online security, and it's a great question which goes far beyond our today's meeting, but we'll continue discussing it. The National Association of Mediation in Ukraine has recently initiated the discussion of online mediation. I think that we are going to have lots of discussions on this topic. Laurie, thanks for sharing the link. Today, we managed to have online mediation, online simulations. Personally, me, I've got lots of interesting ideas. I was getting ready for the event. I was prepared, but still I was surprised. But because my attention was split, I'll be watching the recording of this event, and this recording will be shared with all participants. We'll upload it to YouTube, and you'll be able to re-watch it. And also tonight, right after the event, I'm speaking about Ukrainian participants in the first place, but I'm also addressing our international partners. I would like to ask you to fill in the questionnaire so that we get the feedback, we know what's interesting for you, we can learn your ideas, your suggestions, so we can even make better our international cooperation, which we can enjoy, so we can tailor this cooperation to the needs and interests. So please fill in the questionnaire after you receive it, and in 2 minutes we are going to wrap up our event and to say goodbye to our interpreters. You can stay behind for another 30 minutes of informal interaction. We'll have 2 rooms, one Ukrainian speaking, the other English speaking, and there you'll be able to engage in further reflections. It will be without any recording, without interpretation. Maybe you'll have some questions to ask, comments to make. So if you are interested, please stay behind. Thanks everybody. And I give the word to the co-host. Personally, me, I'm saying goodbye to you on behalf of the Association of Family Mediators of Ukraine. Please join our events in the future. And Diana, can you please say some more words? I wanted to say something about technical aspects. When the recording can be sent in a few days, so don't worry, we won't forget about it, but some technical preparation is required. So it can be even 2 separate emails, first email with a description and the other with the link itself. So finishing this official part, I wanted to share my feeling of this amazing opportunity to observe, to learn, to get something new, to engage in reflection. I know each of us decides what to take from this event, so I want to encourage you to borrow as many grains of knowledge as you can and to enjoy this cooperation and sharing experience. We were exchanging messages with colleagues, and we were thinking of expanding our circle, perhaps bringing in German, French, and even Asian experience. And do not stop here. Thanks, everybody. Jane or Judith, do you have some words to say on behalf of the British colleagues?
Well, just to say thank you. I was looking at the chat, and I mean, obviously I can only read the English ones, but everybody seems to have really enjoyed the opportunity to see what happens outside their backyard, which I think is great at this time because we've all been stuck in our backyard for the last year. So yeah, let's get some more countries involved and share some more practice. Well
Дякую,
done.
Jane. Дякую. Judith?
Yeah, no, it was really good. I'm so glad we got to see. Well, I like looking at the chat as well. There were quite a lot of good comments on there, and I do think it's a great way to share. I'd be really to share experience, and I'd be really interested to know what people would like to see in terms of mediation practice at the next event.
Оптимістично, але я дуже дякую, Judith.
It's very optimistically. Thanks a lot, Judith. Mike, do you have a couple of words to say?
Мікрофон.
Mike, you are muted.
Мікрофон допоможе нам тебе почути.
Whoops. Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to acknowledge again that all the work that Judith and Jane put in on the British side, Deanna, Zhenya, and especially Svetlana with the Ukrainian side and pulling this together. I think it's just really interesting and fun to touch base with people from around the world and see how we mediate the same and how we also mediate a bit differently. And I think this is a great learning experience. And if we can include French, German, Chinese, whoever, that would be great in the future. So thanks so much. It's been a very enjoyable and informative session.
Колеги, дякую всім, дякуємо нашим перекладачам.
Thanks everybody. Thanks our interpreters, Natalia, Tatiana. And now I open the rooms for informal communication, the Ukrainian room and the English room. So we say goodbye to our interpreters. No interpretation, no recording in our chat rooms.